Hi, Terrence.
Hey, Shauna, how you doing?
I'm doing well. It's so nice to see you.
It's good to see you again, friend.
Thank you for joining me. I want to just give a really brief background on us. So brief that we're old college friends.
Right.
And I'm going to just give a little bit of context, a little bit about me, because I know that people watching this don't know me. They're your friends, and vice versa. So here goes. I am from New Jersey originally, but I've lived in Vermont for the past 20 plus years. And a little fact about Vermont is that it's 94% white. So just keep that in the back of your mind. Um, I am currently a small business owner. I've been a small business owner for about the last 11 years, but before that, I was a sports broadcaster on television. So I have a journalism background, and that's a small piece, or maybe a large piece of why we are here today, or my thought process behind why we're here today. So right now, there's so much talk about, not talk about, but there's this energy of white people right now looking at their white privilege and fragility, and just a lot in the wake of George Floyd, and getting out there and learning and wanting to listen. And so much of what I'm seeing as a white person is on social media, and it's a lot of white people sharing what they feel is important and they want others to know. From the goodness of their hearts, I do believe these are people that I enjoy speaking with, but that I was feeling a really, really deep yearning for dialogue that went beyond that small box on Facebook, and even reading books. I will read books in my private time, of course, but I really wanted to have dialogue. So I reached out to Terrence because I wanted to feel the connection and hear from a person directly that I trusted. And it got me thinking that, especially because I live in a place that is so white, that there are probably a lot of people who don't have Black friends, or even a single Black friend. And even if they do, they may not be comfortable asking questions, or if they do, they tiptoe around. And we're just not at a point in our lives where we can, you don't walk up to someone who's Black and say, I want to be your friend, teach me everything you know about racism. It doesn't work that way. Friendships just don't develop like that. So we're lucky enough to have history. And that's a large part why I'm here today, to learn and to listen from you, and just to get your thoughts and perspective. So I am so grateful that you agreed to join me, but I'd like
Yep.
to know why you agreed to join me. And if you could just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, first of all, just a shout out to you for having an intention to really bring forward a conversation, and for us, we're just experimenting with what this might look like, and how it might work. Um, I said yes because I trust you, and that's what I said in my response to you, is that I trust you, and if somebody has an idea that I think is dope, then I want to at least give it a chance to see where it might go. I think, and I've when once we talk about like life in further detail with our wonderful viewing audience. Shout outs to you guys. You'll know that I've lived in a lot of different places. One of them is very northern New York, just across the lake from Vermont. And going to Vermont, I do recognize what you're talking about. Vermont is quite white, but when we boil it down, America is quite white, and a lot of people are going through the same things with regard to their individualized relationships. They just don't have. There's Black people in like 10 places, right? And you can probably name them as a journalist. I'm not going to go through that exercise, but it's important to know. And it's not like I don't want to talk about like having a Black friend, or approach it from that angle. We happen to be friends, and I happen to be Black, and that's coolish. But like it's about taking the time to understand what Black people, what marginalized people are going through in this country right now, and we're not positioning ourselves as experts on the matter, but we want to have a conversation in a universe of hopefully many conversations and many other types of actions. So that's why I'm here, and I thank you for reaching out.
Terrence, can you just give us a little bit of background about what you do for work?
Sure. I've been in higher education for a lot of my career. Currently, I hold a position as a presidential advisor for equity and inclusion, and I'm also an assistant dean of students at a liberal arts college. And I've gotten to that place by being in this world of higher ed, and I firmly believe that education is the key. I mean, or that's what was taught to me by my family, and I've bought in wholesale, I guess. So that's where I'm at.
What do you think of this education, maybe awakening of white people right now? What's your perspective?
Well, I I would hesitate to use the word awakening. I think that we are coming into a time when at least we can assume that people are paying some level of attention. I think that there is a lot behind it, and a lot that honestly I had to do a lot of learning in my adult life, not just within my getting degree after degree, but just on my own to learn about some of the past histories and past atrocities in this nation. And I'm not talking about just slavery. There's way more levels to how African identities have been marginalized, brutalized, and treated unfairly in this nation. And so that's not in your McGraw-Hill. Sorry, we'll get censored for that. But that's not in your textbooks in school. And so we just have to do better. And if I had to like do that kind of deeping to find out about my own history and the history of my own people, certainly we're not at a point of awakening yet. You know, there's stuff going on even right now with Tulsa being the place of the next rally for the president of the United States, on and in a month that was historically oppressive to the Black community there. Also, when and some of y'all just have to do some Googling, look up Juneteenth and what that means to Black people. I don't need to explain it because there's way smarter people out there than me.
But I think that that talk about raids, there's people in Tulsa that didn't even know that happened, that grew up there. Sure. So we're really, as you said, I think we're not here to give the history lesson, but for people to look that up and realize how devastating that was.
There's an incredible, I forget which organization did it. There's a lot of information, but there's one that's like very, 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 very exhaustive and covers the whole thing. And you simply have to Google it. It's all there. And then bring a half an hour of your time and bring some tissue, because it's heartbreaking and gut wrenching.
But the basis is that this was a community where Blacks had lifted themselves up. There was prosperity, and then basically they were shot out of town and burned out of town. So that's what we're talking about. That's the context.
By good Christian white folks, but I don't want to editorialize it.
Okay.
Go see it for yourself, please.
Yeah. Something that's been going through my mind a lot lately is that white privilege affords me the time in the fight against racism. I think that there are moments where we all feel extreme sadness, anger, frustration, but at the end of the day, the one to me that would be the most, quite frankly, impossible to live with is fear. And so where white people can sort of ebb and flow out of their that feeling that they want to be anti-racist right now, it's very different than living with fear each day. Fear, I have 2 children. I don't worry each day when they go out, other than scraping their knees on their bikes or, car accidents. I don't worry about somebody wanting to brutally attack them. because of the way that they look. And I think that if white people were faced with that fear daily, that maybe this would hurry things up a lot.
I don't know. I can't answer the what would hurry this thing up a lot part of that question. I can say that I'll use I statements. I was conditioned with that fear as a part of everyday life. But the thing about fear is like you can't carry it explicitly for far too long. Otherwise, it becomes burdensome, and you can't move. So it's always there, just like my little background. It's always there. Picture it like that. Picture it in the background. Everywhere you go, every move you make, you have to be on point, because if you're not, something bad, even if you are, something bad could happen. And so it's just a part of it. And as we mature as a society, my hope is that we'll get to deal with that as Black people, as marginalized people in this country. We'll really get to do that. Really, it's a mental health issue at a certain point, and I want us to be able to address that and to deal with it. And it wasn't until I didn't have to necessarily deal with that on a everyday basis that I was able to even confront that, because you have a natural positioning of not wanting to have any vulnerabilities, because everybody would prey on you. And I'm talking about police, I'm talking about, other dangers that exist with the environment. So that happens. And anti-racism is a much bigger topic. Moving towards that it's an individual. I mean, I think that people really have to like make the commitment as individuals to find out what that means, and to put tenets of that in their daily lives. But it's not a one and done type of situation. It's not like, okay, I get it now and I'm anti-racist. Yes, our ideals are probably wanting to be people who are against racism, but it doesn't work like that, because the tenets of white supremacy are so ingrained in our society that you don't even know. I didn't even know. So if I know that I didn't know that, I know that people just don't always know things, that where their roots are, and it's important to continually educate ourselves and our families, and especially our children.
Yeah, that's
I'll let it
something I
be.
wanted to ask you about, Terrence. We're both really hopeful people. Well, at least for as much as I know you, I think
You,
you
yeah,
are.
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
you're on it.
How much time do we? This is sort of like a burning question I've had, and how much time do we spend on? We know that we need to teach our children. That's sort of an obvious thing. We need generations to understand anti-racism. But how much time do we spend on people that we feel like there's no hope for, white supremacists, lots of other people that just the racism seems so deeply ingrained in them? Are they a lost cause, or do we try and fight that fight?
I mean, I think that's more of a question for you than me, honestly.
Mm,
I I don't surround myself with people who are so far gone, and that's for a specific reason, because it's exhausting having to continually trying to explain very simple notions of human rights and human existence. So, how much time do I spend on it? Not much.
mhm.
Um, is that right? Is that the correct position? Maybe, maybe not. I mean, I will say professionally, I have a different stance. Like, I'm charged to work with anybody who shows up, but I promise you, when I do certain types of things and certain types of educational events, it's really not the folks who are deeply ingrained in white supremacist ideology that are sitting in the front row. So I'm in a position where I don't know how to to really approach that. But one of the things I think is important is white people talking to white people. And that's one of the reasons I'm in this conversation with you, is because I think that was like the subtext of one of the original things that you stated to me when you said that you wanted to do this. And I was like, great, because I can't do it, because I don't know them and they don't talk to me. And even if they do talk to me, the language is different when I come in a room. My presence changes the energy in a room. Usually, now we've seen videos in the recent past where like people just did not care, and they felt free enough to go off on their own little tirades, and thought that wouldn't have repercussions, and it did. And shout outs to Black Twitter and everybody else out there holding these people accountable and putting them on blast. But it's not me. I'm sorry.
No.
Sorry, guys.
Do not apologize. Terrence, I want to thank you for being in my room with me today.
I want to thank you too. You're a good friend.
Oh, well, the feeling is quite mutual. We are going to call this crucial. We wanted to kind of title this crucial conversation.
Crucial conversations. That's what it is.
And I think that's what we accomplished today.
And we've got miles to go before
yes,
we sleep.
We do. I think the less that we sleep, though, especially white people, I think the more active they're going to be.
Hey.
When you start sleeping again, then I even see it in myself in the past few weeks. I went from no sleep to, you know what, now I don't think about this every minute of the day. Maybe there's a few hours. Before it was every minute of every day. So there's so much more I want to talk to you about.
We will.
Okay, great. Thank you for the people that are tuning in just to listen to two people that are not experts on a subject, just come from their own place of wanting to make racism go away. I know that sounds idealistic, but boy. Hey,
oh boy,
we're gonna keep going for it. So again, thanks for coming into my room. Love you, and we will talk again very soon.
One love, very soon, sis. Peace.
Bye.